Hey guys, thanks so much for watching. This is a Nina Nightmare Valentine's Day special featuring Raven. I hope you all enjoy and remember to subscribe to keep me in your nightmares. I stand outside the restaurant waiting for my boyfriend to arrive. Why does he have to do this every time we go out? I whisper to myself, smiling sweetly at a couple passing by. Peter and I have been dating for almost a year now, and this is our first Valentine's Day together. We met each other at a concert about 11 months ago and instantly clicked, then started dating shortly after. Honestly, the only thing I can say that really annoys me about him is the amount of time it takes him to get ready. He's obsessed with his looks, which doesn't bother me whatsoever. There's nothing wrong with a man who likes to look nice. But the time it takes him to pick out his clothes, get dressed, and do his hair is triple the time I take to do those things. It's caused us to be late to events on many occasions, including my sister's wedding, which I was mortified about. I'm also sure it's why he's now. I lift my phone and glance at the time once again. 20 minutes late for our date. After about another 5 minutes, I get tired of waiting, so I head inside and give the hostess Peter's name, because he's the one who made the reservations. Then she escorts me to a table where two other people are already seated. Patrick stands and wraps his arms around me in a warm embrace and then introduces me to his date, a woman named Mya. Patrick is Peter's older brother, but only by a minute and a half. They also have another brother named Preston, and if you haven't guessed it already, they're triplets. I politely shake Mya's hand and then take a seat next to her. Although she and Patrick have been dating for a few months, this is the first double date that we've been on. It's actually the first time I've ever met her. I apologize for being late. I didn't realize you two were already here. Had I known, I would have joined you sooner. I hope you weren't standing outside in the cold waiting on Peter, Patrick says. I nod my head as I pick up the menu. Well, I'm starving, so I say we order. We place our order for a bottle of champagne and an appetizer. About 10 minutes later, Peter finally arrives, apologizing for being late, but not meaning a word of it. His lips brush gently against mine in a sweet kiss, and he hands me a bouquet of roses, then takes a seat on the other side of me. Mya and I sit and chat as we sip on champagne while the guys pick at the appetizer and talk about sports.
So, how long have you and Peter been together?
10 months. What about you and Patrick?
6 months.
How did the two of you meet?
At a bar.
I can tell she's shy and reserved by the few word answers she keeps giving. But I figure if I keep the conversation going and pry a little, by the end of the night she'll open up and maybe we'll even become friends. Peter and I met at a Blake Shelton concert. We're actually going to another one for my birthday in April. Would you and Patrick like to come?
I don't really like country music.
Well, what kind of music do you like?
I like opera.
Oh, okay. I pause for a moment to take a sip of my drink because I don't know where to go with the conversation after that response. I listen to pretty much everything else, but opera is my absolute least favorite type of music. It literally gives me a migraine just thinking about it. So I changed the subject, asking, "Where's Preston? I thought he was supposed to be coming with his date." Peter raises his wrist and peeks at his Rolex. Leave it to Preston to be late as usual. I give him a dirty look, and although he doesn't seem to notice it, Mya does, and she smirks. Oh, give him a break. You know he just broke up with his girlfriend. He's probably out at some bar right now, drinking his sorrows away and looking for someone to hang out with for the night. When I spoke to him earlier, he told me that he'll meet up with us later, Patrick replies. I start back up the conversation Mya and I had going once our waiter delivers our dinner. So what do you do for a living?
Actually, I just graduated from college.
I knew she looked young, I just hadn't realized she was that young. What did you major in?
Music therapy.
I'm sorry, but I'm not sure what that is.
It's the clinical use of music interventions to improve a person's quality of life. It can really help people with mental, emotional, and behavioral issues, or people who suffer from depression and anxiety. but it's most often used to help the elderly deal with memory loss associated with diseases such as Alzheimer's and dementia. I would love to be able to get a job doing something where I can help kids, maybe at a children's hospital.
My mom is a nurse at the Children's Hospital in Dallas. I'd be happy to talk to her and try to get you in there.
That would be amazing. I would appreciate it so much.
We finish up dinner, and then our waiter asks if we'd like to order dessert. I saw some pretty tempting things on the menu, like the caramel macchiato cheesecake, but the guys insist that we have to get going. They tell us that they have a surprise in store. So they order another bottle of champagne for the road and then pay the bill. "So where are we going?" I question as I climb into the back seat of Patrick's truck next to Mya. "It's a surprise," Peter reveals. Then as we begin to drive, he decides to give us a few more details. "This is a tradition that we do every Valentine's Day. My brothers and I take whatever woman we are dating at the time out on a double, or should I say triple date. After dinner, then next we take them to where we're headed now. You can think of it kind of as a test, but don't worry, it'll be fun. All it really is when my brothers and I have been dating someone for a while, and we think we might want to move on to the next step in the relationship, whether it be marriage, moving in together, having kids, or anything of that sort, you know? And we just want everyone to meet one another because all we have is each other, and the three of us vowed not to let anyone ever come between us, so we just want to make sure that everyone gets along. We can have some drinks with a few games mixed in, just to make things fun, and as long as there's no drama or people getting too drunk and rowdy, you pretty much pass the test. But let me warn you, it's not easy. No other woman has made it past this." Then he gives me a wicked grin before turning around in his seat. I glance over at Mya and whisper, "What do you think about this?" She shrugs her shoulders, then murmurs,
I don't know, it sounds kind of romantic to me.
Then she lies her head back and closes her eyes. "Yeah, at first I thought that too, until Peter said that he does the same thing every single Valentine's Day. Hearing that doesn't make me feel special or loved, and it damn sure doesn't sound very romantic. But I'm already here now, so I figure I might as well play along with his little game. But whether I pass the test or not, I'm starting to think that maybe Peter isn't the one for me." I lie my head back as well and stare out the window, wondering where we are going. I've been to Peter's house plenty of times before, and I'm fairly certain that this isn't the way there. At least it's not the way that we took whenever he drove. Maybe this is where Patrick or Preston live, I think to myself, just as the pickup lurches, turning onto a dirt road. Overhead, the woods close in, shutting out every ounce of moonlight. The few leaves that linger behind on the trees dance from side to side in the cold breeze. Wherever we're headed, it must be very secluded because I haven't seen another house in about the last 30 minutes. We continue to drive up that same dirt road for what feels like forever when finally a large log cabin comes into view. I stare at it in amazement, taking in all of its beauty. It has to be at least 3 stories tall, if not more. I nudge Mya awake just as the truck comes to a stop. She yawns, stretches, and then wipes her eyes sleepily.
Oh, sorry, I didn't mean to fall asleep. I had a long day at work.
As we step out of the truck, I hear the sound of tires on gravel, letting me know that another car is coming up the long driveway. Just as I turn to look, a horn beeps, scaring me half to death. I instantly recognize Preston's devilish smile. "About time you showed up," Peter says in a sarcastic tone. We stand outside in the driveway for a few minutes while everyone gets acquainted. Then we head inside, and as soon as Patrick opens the double front doors, I look around in awe at the massive logs, oversized windows, and rustic finishes throughout.
Is this your place?
Yeah, it belonged to our parents. We inherited it when they passed away, Patrick says. I figure she must be thinking the same thing that I am, that this place is breathtaking. I walk over to one of the giant windows and gaze outside. The view is amazing. You can see the mountains, and there's a lake with a dock at the bottom of a hill. Mya and I, along with Preston's date Natalie, follow a trail of rose petals that lead us into the beautifully decorated living room, and then we settle in front of the fireplace. I smile as I look around at all of the red and pink heart-shaped balloons floating all over the room. Sitting on the coffee table is an array of Valentine's Day sweets. There are 3 boxes of chocolates, one addressed to each of us ladies, chocolate-covered strawberries decorated with heart sprinkles, fudge, and cookies with cute Valentine sayings on them. The guys go into the kitchen and return a moment later with champagne glasses, a meat and cheese platter, and 2 more bottles of champagne. Peter fills 2 glasses, then takes one for himself and hands one to me. Then Patrick and Preston proceed to pour their dates drinks as well. I'm not much of a drinker, so I just sip on mine. But Natalie gulps hers down and immediately asks for another glass, which Preston doesn't hesitate in pouring her one. A little while later, Peter offers me another drink, but my glass is still full, since I only took 2 sips from the first round of drinks they handed out, so I politely decline. Then he asks Mya if she'd like some more.
No thanks. I'll take my time with this one. I have to work tomorrow. I don't want to go in with a hangover.
Natalie grabs another glass of champagne and a few cubes of cheese from the platter before sitting down on the couch in between Mya and I. When she finishes off her 3rd glass, no matter how hard she tries, she can't keep her eyes open. Her head begins to bob around and she starts dozing off. Once she's knocked out, Mya and I keep ourselves busy with the little girl chat. Have you been to that new store in the mall yet? The one that sells nothing but dresses, shoes, and accessories?
I've been so busy with work I haven't gotten the chance to check it out.
You absolutely have to go. Their shoes are to die for. I just bought this gorgeous sweater dress from there, and they even had the matching boots. I'm going back next week to pick them up.
When? Maybe I can come.
I would love that. Is Saturday good for you?
Yeah, as long as it's after 3.
We have a date. Suddenly, Natalie springs up out of nowhere and barfs all over the rug. Once she's gotten it all out, she sits back down on the couch, throw up still dripping from the corners of her mouth, and dozes off again.
Okay, that was super gross. I think she's had a little too much to drink.
Yeah, I guess so. Maybe we should clean her up. Mya glances at me with a look of disgust.
Do we have to?
It would be the nice thing to do. We girls need to stick together. Patrick overhears us talking about Natalie and asks, "She's passed out already?" "Yeah, I think she's sick. She just threw up. She must have had a little too much to drink. Can we have some paper towels to clean her up?" I guess she failed the test, Peter blurts out laughing. Patrick instantly turns to Preston and smacks him in the back of the head. "You never take this seriously. Where did you find this girl?" Then the 3 of them huddle together in a corner of the room and start whispering to one another. A few minutes later, Patrick asks Mya and I, "Can you get the paper towels for her? And excuse us for 1 second, ladies. We'll be right back." Then the 3 of them walk out the sliding doors in the kitchen. Mya and I look at each other confused.
This is starting to get a little weird.
Yeah, I was thinking the same thing. I grab a handful of paper towels from the kitchen and we clean Natalie up.
What do you think they're doing out there?
Probably talking about her.
Well, I think Preston and her are great for each other. They're both a drunken mess.
Yeah, I agree. We throw the paper towels in the trash and wash our hands before going back to the living room and settling down on the couch. This time a different one than the one Natalie's currently sitting on, which happens to be facing away from the kitchen. Mya picks up her glass and takes a few sips of champagne just as we hear the sliding doors open. Next, I hear a loud whoosh sound, and then something comes flying through the air right between us. I stare, unable to move, as blood gushes from Natalie's head. Then a second later, I come back to life as the shock registers on my face before I have the chance to hide it. I leap up and let out a blood-curdling scream.
Holy shit!
Mya yells as she stares in horror at Natalie slumped over on the couch with her head split wide open and an axe hanging from it. I turn around with the same shocked look on my face and see 3 people standing there wearing masks. All of them look similar. They're porcelain with a large heart on the forehead and roses adorning the top and sides, just different colors. Then one of them replies with a laugh. 1 down, 2 more to go. Now that they've spoken, I can clearly tell that it's Preston. Then one of the others points to a large hourglass sitting on top of the fireplace mantel. It's clearly meant to be the centerpiece of the room. The last one walks into the living room past Mya and I, who are standing as still as statues due to fear, and places his hand on the hourglass and announces, "We'll give you a head start. You have until this expires to get out of here, and then we're coming to find you." After hearing his voice, I know that it's definitely Peter. I stare at him in utter disbelief, waiting for him to come clean and tell me that this is all just some stupid prank. But clearly that's not going to happen. I can tell by looking at the axe that's lodged in Natalie's skull as her body still convulses every few seconds. I rush over to where Mya is sitting, grab her by the hand and start pulling her toward the door just as Peter flips the hourglass. As we're running for the door, Mya trips and falls, which causes me to nearly have to drag her. "I think it's safe to say that we know she's already failed the test," Preston scoffs with a laugh. While I'm trying my best to hold Mya up, I manage to grab an umbrella from a bin next to the door. Once we've made it outside, I frantically scan the massive property, searching for somewhere to hide. I figure my best bet is to try to find my way out of here by heading back down to the main road, so I begin pulling Mya down the driveway. "Come on, girl, you gotta help me out here."
I'm sorry. My feet feel like jello. I think there was something in my drink.
As soon as the words leave her lips, I realize that I'm feeling a bit groggy too. Thank goodness I only took a few sips. By the time we make it to the bottom of the driveway, I'm breathing heavily, but not from fatigue or lack of physical capability, from fear, pure, genuine fear. I stand there at the foot of the driveway in the cool night air, drenched in sweat, and wishing I could wait around and enjoy the breeze for a moment, but knowing that if they catch us, then we're as good as dead. I grip the umbrella tightly as I try to figure out my next move. The sound that I hear next frightens me beyond belief.
Was that what I think it was?
Mya asks, suddenly wide awake, as if everything else that has already occurred wasn't bad enough. I nod my head and let go of her. "Yeah, it was. So if you don't want to die tonight, then I suggest you get it together and come on." I leap into the woods and start trudging through them, still following the road, and Mya is trailing close behind me.
Why don't we just call the cops?
You'd think that would be the first thing that comes to a person's mind when put in a situation like this, but honestly, the thought never even crossed mine. I unzip my bag, reach inside, and grab my phone. Of course, I only have 12% battery left. I quickly dial 911, panicking when my call doesn't go through. I try again and again, and then realize that I have no bars. Damn it, I don't have service. Mya looks at her phone.
Yeah, me either.
Then I hear footsteps racing through the woods coming right toward us.
They're coming already. I thought we had an hour. That wasn't an hourglass, was it?
No, I don't think so. As soon as he turned it over, the sand was moving way too fast. I think we actually only had a couple of minutes. We both take off running at rapid speed, but because I'm wearing flats and Mya's wearing heels, I swiftly lose sight of her. I think about going back, but when another gunshot rings out, that quickly changes my mind. I keep running, not stopping for anything. Then I feel a sharp pain in my left arm and scream in agony, giving away my position, but I can't help it because the pain is so unbearable. As I'm making an attempt to see the damage done by whatever it was that hit me, I hear footsteps fast approaching. So I scramble to run and hide behind a tree, prepared to jab whoever it is with the tip of the umbrella that I took from the house. When suddenly, I hear someone whisper my name.
Vanessa.
I cautiously peek my head around the tree and breathe a sigh of relief when I see Mya standing there. I notice that she's ditched her heels and is now barefoot. She observes the wound on my arm. I was running and something just hit me. She takes a closer look at it.
They must have shot at you. The bullet grazed your skin, but it's just a flesh wound. You'll be all right. No, come on. We have to keep moving and get as far away from here as possible.
Yeah, but where are we going to go? Do you not remember how long it took for us to get up here? There wasn't a house around for miles. They knew exactly what they were doing when they brought us up here. We're in the middle of nowhere.
And did you see them all geared up? I've never seen anything like it, except for in SWAT team movies.
No one can help us, and they're going to catch us unless we come up with some kind of a plan. We have to find a way to get back to the house and get the keys to one of their cars.
I saw Patrick put his down on the counter when we first got here.
Okay, great. Now look, I realize that we don't know each other very well, but in order to get out of here alive, we're going to have to work together and trust each other.
Okay, sounds good.
We turn around and begin to make our way through the woods, back up toward the house, when something stops us dead in our tracks. I don't know how we didn't hear him, but Preston managed to sneak up on us undetected. I grab Mya's hand tightly as we stand there, frozen in the moment, waiting to see what he's going to do next. He's stumbling around with his mask pulled up, resting on top of his head, and his back is facing us. That's when I realize that he hasn't even seen us yet. He continues to stagger around in the darkness, obviously drunk, and then his pants fall to his ankles, and he proceeds to take a piss. As he reaches down to pull them up, that's when I decide to take my chance. Trying my best not to make a sound, I sneak up on him and leap onto his back. Then I take the umbrella and shove it up under his neck and grab a hold of both ends. He starts gagging and struggling, but I hold on. I call to Mya for help, but when she doesn't reply, I assume all that we have to trust each other stuff I just said meant absolutely nothing to her, and she must have ran off to hide so she can save herself. Suddenly, Preston falls backwards, slamming me into the ground and knocking the wind out of me. One hand starts reaching to try to pull up his pants while the other reaches for his gun. As I attempt to catch my breath, he starts to get up, and then a second later I hear a piercing cry of anguish, and when I turn back around, I find Mya standing over him, bashing his head in with the largest rock she could manage to carry. When she finally becomes too exhausted to lift the rock anymore, she drops it right next to what used to be Preston's face, but is now just a bloody pulp.
Teamwork,
She says, out of breath, huffing and puffing. Come on, we have to go now. The others could be looking for him. On our way up to the lake, we devise a plan.
I was thinking we could set a trap in the woods, right near the edge of the lake.
What kind of trap?
Not really so much a trap, more of a diversion. Maybe drape our clothes over some branches, get it to look like we're standing there. Patrick and Peter will most likely be together, and if they see it, they'll make their way across the lake. That's when we can make a run for it and grab the keys from the house.
Not a bad idea. So when we make it to the other side of the lake, we strip down to our underclothes, and Mya sets her phone alarm so that it'll go off in 10 minutes, giving us just enough time to start swimming across the lake. Then once the diversion is all set up, we get into the water and begin to swim to the other side.
I'm freezing.
Yeah, me too. Luckily, we don't have to wait long before somebody comes along, and I think it's Patrick because that's the mask I last saw him wearing. Unfortunately, he's by himself, which leads us to believe that Peter must still be in the house. When he doesn't seem to notice our clothes right away, exactly at that moment, the alarm goes off, capturing his attention. Immediately, he starts looking around to see where the sound came from. Then he sees our clothes, and just like we had hoped, he thinks it's the two of us standing on the other side of the lake. He races down the dock, leaps into the boat, and then starts paddling his way across the lake in a frenzy.
We're gonna have to go to Plan B.
What's Plan B?
Try to tip over the boat. Then we'll swim across the rest of the way and hope that Patrick sinks with all that heavy gear on.
And what if that doesn't work?
Let's just pray that it does.
So we start swimming toward the boat. Right before we reach it, I signal for Mya to swim to one side, and then I swim to the other. She nods her head, letting me know that she understands me. Patrick doesn't see us until we're right on top of the boat. The last thing we hear him say before we flip it over is, "What the hell?" "Pull down on your side," I shout to Mya. Then I push up on mine. Patrick doesn't know what to do because he can't fight us both off at the same time. The boat flips over and he falls out. His head instantly begins bobbing beneath the water and he's splashing around uncontrollably. In all of the chaos, his mask comes off, revealing that it is indeed Patrick, just like I thought. He waves his knife wildly in the air, splashing, trying to keep himself afloat, but I can tell that all that gear is too heavy for him. Even though it's dark, I can see the desperation in his eyes as he realizes that the tables have turned, and he tries to call out for Peter. But before I know it, Mya's hands are covering his mouth so he can't yell, and with him still waving the knife around frantically, he cuts her, leaving a giant gash on her forehead that's now bleeding. I swim over and hold his arms down, and then we both keep pushing him under the water every time he tries to come up gasping for air, hearing his muffled, bubbled screams before he finally stops struggling and his body just seems to drift down into the darkness.
Come on.
We swim to the dock as fast as we can and climb out. "Oh my God, your head!"
What? What is it?
"You have a huge cut on your forehead." She reaches up and touches it.
Ow.
And when she brings her hand back down, it's covered with blood.
Oh my God. Am I dying? I didn't even feel it.
I can only imagine it was the adrenaline rushing through her body that caused her not to feel it, seeing how crazy the situation is. It looks deep. I think you'll probably need stitches, but you're not going to die. Then I rip off a corner of my tank top and tie it around her head.
Not too tight.
"Sorry, but I have to. I don't need you bleeding out on me. Ready? 1, 2, 3.
Ow.
Look, I know that we don't know where Peter is right now, but we have to try to get those keys.
But what if he's in there?
That's just a chance we're going to have to take. This is the only way we're getting out of here."
All right, let's go.
We start to make our way toward the house, being sure to keep an eye out for Peter. As we're climbing the steep hill that leads up to the house, Mya spots a shed.
Hey, do you think we can find something to fight him with in there?
Yeah, maybe. So we make a detour and head over there first. My heart starts to race as I grasp the handle to the shed. I look over at Mya and whisper, "Be prepared, he could be hiding in here." She nods her head and raises her fists. I gently tug on it until it finally slides open. Then I pull out my phone and turn on the flashlight. As we step inside and begin to look around, my eyes scan every nook and cranny that Peter could possibly be hiding in.
I'll look over there.
Mya whispers as she heads to the opposite side of the shed. A moment later, I hear her gasp, and I rush over expecting to see Peter, but instead come across some sort of shrine. Instantly, I recognize the man in the many pictures displayed around candles, flowers, and other items significant with Valentine's Day, including a mask just like the ones that the guys were wearing. One picture in particular captures my attention because the man is standing with a younger Peter, Patrick, and Preston. I pick it up and take a closer look. Written across the bottom is Happy Father's Day. I know this man.
You do? Who is it?
He's a murderer. He killed his wife on Valentine's Day. I think I was only like 12 at the time it happened, but I remember hearing about it and seeing his picture on the news.
That's terrible.
Yeah, but that's not even the worst part. His 3 sons witnessed the whole thing. They're the ones who called the cops. I hand her the picture of him with the guys and continue. I think he's their father.
Wait a minute. Are you trying to tell me that they're mimicking what he did to their mother?
I think so. We put the picture back and finished searching the shed for any sign of something that we could use as a weapon. The only thing we come across is a pair of garden shears sitting inside of a flower pot, so we take them and head up to the house. As we approach the front door, I break out in a sweat and my chest starts to tighten. Mya senses my fear and grabs a hold of my hand. The door is already standing partly open, so we quietly slip inside, making sure to stay aware of our surroundings, and then we tiptoe over to the kitchen.
Damn it, the keys are gone.
My heart sinks as I think I may very well die tonight. Then I get a thought. Do you think there's a spare key in one of the cars?
Possibly, but I don't know anyone who keeps an extra key in their car nowadays.
As we head back outside to check, we come face to face with Peter in the driveway. He lifts his mask and says to me, "Vanessa, I'm so proud. You passed the test. I knew you would." At first, a look of fright and bewilderment covers my face, but that quickly changes when a sudden thought crosses my mind. I smile and begin to cautiously approach him in hopes that he has the keys, when he suddenly pulls something from behind his back. I freeze, the gray steel gleaming under the moonlight. "Peter, what are you doing?" He lifts the gun and points it at Mya. "But first, she has to die. Would you like to do the honors, or shall I?" Mya begins to cry and beg for her life as I stand there thinking of what to say to get him to change his mind. "Here, give me the gun. I'll do it." He passes the gun to me with a smile. Then I raise it, pointing it at Mya, my hand shaking uncontrollably.
No, please don't.
I place my hand on the trigger, and just as I'm about to pull it, I turn and aim it at Peter. I hit him once in the arm and once in the chest. When he collapses to the ground holding his wounds, I race over to Mya. "Are you okay?"
Not really, I thought I was gonna die.
I hug her, and just as I'm pulling away, about to tell her, "Let's get the hell out of here," an ear-piercing shriek erupts from my lips. Mya jumps back, probably thinking that she's hurt me. As I collapse to the gravel, dropping the gun, I see Peter getting up from the ground behind me, and the claw of a hammer has been plunged into my calf. I grip my leg and try to remove it. While Peter's focused on me and the damage that he's done, Mya picks up the gun, this time making sure to aim it at his head, and pulls the trigger. But either the gun jams or it's out of bullets. I'm not sure which because I don't know anything about them. As he stands there grinning, Mya yells,
Vanessa, get up.
"I can't. It hurts too much." I'm already halfway standing, so she drops the gun and races over to help me the rest of the way up, and then we limp away into the darkness. Then Peter yells, "You've got to the count of 10, as he picks up his hammer and his gun, either reloading or fixing the jam. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. With him giving us somewhat of a head start, we only make it as far as the shed when I fall to the ground, just as we hear the last numbers get called. 8, 9, 10. "Just go on without me. I'm slowing you down."
No, I'm not leaving you here with that psychopath.
But it doesn't matter, because he's caught up with us now. He grabs me by the arm and shoves me inside of the shed, telling me, once I take care of her, then we can be together. Then he locks me inside. I watch in horror through a small window as he seizes Mya by the hair and slams her to the ground. Then he proceeds to torture her, first with the gun. He reloads it and acts like he's going to shoot her, but never does. He just watches, enjoying every second of her screaming and pleading for her life. But then he pulls out a knife and starts torturing her with that, while sitting on top of her, pinning her down, slicing her all over her body. Next, he takes out the hammer. With my heart pounding and thoughts racing through my mind of how he's about to kill her, I frantically look around the shed for something I can use to get out of here. That's when I spot the flower pot that we found the garden shears in when we were in here earlier. I pick it up and start slamming it up against the glass, and then finally I throw it through the window and it shatters. I climb out, pick it up, and run towards them holding the flower pot in the air like a madwoman, and then just as he lifts the hammer for a final blow to Mya's head, I smash the pot into his. He screams in pain and staggers around for a second, obviously caught off guard and dazed. Then he looks up, staring me right in the eyes with a slight smirk on his face. We could have been together. You're perfect. I can tell you were made for this. Our eyes both move to the gun lying between us in the grass at the exact same time. Then we rush toward it, but he gets there first. He holds the gun up to my face. As my light flashes before my eyes, I come to the realization that all of this fighting we did led to the same outcome. He's still going to kill me. Then I see Mya grab the knife out of his ankle holster quicker than I can even imagine, and she stabs it into the side of his neck. With a look of surprise on his face, he drops the gun and starts reaching for the knife to pull it out. As I pick up the gun, he tries to say something, but I can't understand it through him gurgling.
Check his pockets for the keys.
No, I have to make sure he's dead this time. I cautiously approach him, gripping the gun tightly, and shoot him right in the head. Now I check his pockets for the keys, then breathe a sigh of relief when I hear that familiar jingle. I help Mya up, and then we limp up the driveway and climb into Patrick's truck. As I start the engine and we drive away, I start to think about everything that happened tonight. Not even noticing the awkward silence until Mya's voice interrupts my thoughts.
I was just thinking about what Patrick's last words to me were, right before he drowned.
What did he say?
You're smiling.
That's crazy. I was just thinking the same thing about what Peter's last words were. It took me a while to put it together because it just sounded like a bunch of gargling from all of the blood. But now in my head, it's so clear. He said, I knew you liked this. And this probably sounds crazy, but he's right. I kind of did. Mya glances over at me and a smile spreads across her face.
Me too.
Then she busts out in uncontrollable laughter, and I can't help but to laugh too. Now that we're on the main road, we start to see other cars pass by, and I can only imagine the sight that they're seeing with two girls driving down the road, uncontrollably laughing and covered in blood. Then I say to her, I think I know what we're doing next Valentine's Day.
We have a date.
Special thanks to Raven. Remember to check out her channel and don't forget to subscribe for new stories weekly. See you next time on
Nina's Nightmares.
Oh yeah, have a happy Valentine's Day. Really? You're supposed to click the like button, not me. Ugh.